everyone. Welcome to Please Tell Me. I will only try to talk about the first two topics. Before I start, I would like to clarify that I'm not very interested in politics. Some of the challenges we are facing may be truly unique to China or the US or any other country, while more challenges to my point of view are common subjects to all humans. Human beings together work as a system and different political formats built on the system as applications. You may only be able to address some applicational issues to a certain degree before revealing the systematic problem. Like the pandemic crisis, no matter it's created in the lab or just in nature, the deep impact to human beings are the same across the earth. Most likely a vaccine will be available next year. However, it does not change the fact human beings are extremely vulnerable when exposed to viruses. More importantly, it has been like this for hundreds of years. The technology seemed to equip us with a safe shield. Now we find the shield is a piece of paper. The first topic this week is the long-term human battle. Humans are fighting in between liberty and equality, either because of the productivities or various other reasons. Each nation found a tricky equilibrium at different times. In the caveman age, we did not need to determine if everyone should have an equal cut of food collected, regardless of age, gender, and physical condition, or we can allow someone to eat more because the option was quite limited. Slowly, humans started to have the equality and the liberty problem as supplies became sufficient, or someone called civilized. Back to the contemporary world, in 1776, the US was founded by a group of European Puritans and adventurers who wanted more liberties. The startup got really rough initially and included a brutal civil war. Thanks to people from multiple nations and races, the country was finally stabilized and started to grow after about 100 years. No one can suspect that the US is a country built by immigrants based on the liberty spirit. US citizens enjoyed a very broad liberty until 9/11. Since then, the government has grown larger with a strong intelligence and a surveillance network. Liberty has been pushed back further and further. While Americans have been the model of liberty citizens, were really cautious about losing rights to be free and had multiple nationwide debates and protests, for example, gun control, healthcare, immigrants, tax, which all become really hot topics in every presidential debate. The fundamental logic in the US is liberty and how much we should have it. Compared to the US, China, in a broader definition, has been pretty stable. According to the history book, China has a written history of around 3,000 years, basically on the same land. The nation changed many times along history until the latest one founded in 1949, or the government called the New China. The country became a communist country led by the China Communist Party. Technically, the highest organ of power is the National People's Congress, which was elected by the entire population, which also means the entire nation belongs to everyone and everyone should be equal as the owner. Not surprisingly, as a cornerstone of communism, the fundamental spirit and logic in China is equality. Equality is written in the Chinese constitution. The equality in justice, everyone should be equal under the law. Every race should have equal rights. Women should have equal rights as men. Well, it was never the case. Minorities in China have a few more rights than the rest. For instance, they can have more than one children under the one-child policy. Well, why? China is a country with 1.4 billion people. The minorities seem a very tiny piece compared to the major race, so the inequality in birthright compensates for the inequality in population. Then it's the new equality. Apparently, this is a very complicated calculation. How much new inequality can compensate for the old inequality? In most Chinese cases, people are not really interested in liberties, but how much equality they have gained or lost. Then it needs to be added or subtracted from the old equality. Each new policy will have to go through a 1.4 billion calculations. Guess what will happen? It may need another round of inequality adjustment until the entire nation gets into an okay status. However, the comparison does not mean people are different. On the contrary, as I always said in the show, it means humans are the same. There is a tricky equilibrium in between liberties and equalities. There are paradoxes. In the US, after 8 years of Obama administration, started to get further down the road of equality in the format people normally call politically correct. When most presses believed Ms. Clinton would be the next president, the people made the decision by their votes. With today's circumstances, the equilibrium was still undergoing some adjustments. In some states, the adjustment is shaking the power, and some others may not be attempting to be that liberal. Different states or cities seem to have different interpretations over where they should be in this liberty to equality scale, let alone different nations. The battle over equality and liberty can be a forever topic for all humans for a long, long time. Well, which one is better? It's hard to say. It's people's call. My favorite economist, Mr. Friedman, provides an insight. I only stated here to end the first topic. He said, "The society aims equality before liberty will end up with neither equality nor liberty. The society aimed first for liberty will not end up with equality, but will end up with a closer approach to equality than any other systems ever built." Racism has been a very hot topic in the US this week, and is also part of the battle over equality. I feel deeply sorry and sad for what happened across the country in the last few weeks. There are several main characters of the US racism. Number one, discrimination or special treatment to a certain race or races. And number two, the people in that race cannot change. You can discriminate against Asians. Well, as an Asian, I cannot do anything to change the fact I'm an Asian. Number three, the racism normally comes from stereotypes without facts. Discrimination is not unique to US. China, from my perspective, does not really have a serious race issue, as most people belong to a single race. I did have a couple of friends from other races over my long years of education. You can tell their races by their appearances. I never feel uncomfortable being around them. But there is another kind of discrimination can be compared to US racism, the regional discrimination. People from the northeast part of China are normally considered rude and belong to some gangsters. Beijing residents believe the rest of the countries are all low because Beijing is the capital. Shanghai residents think the rest of the country are all rural, as is worse and is one of the most advanced and richest cities in the world. People from Henan are normally associated with image of illegal activities like stealing and being unreliable. Guangdong residents believe the rest of the countries are all just poor because they are wealthiest state. People were treated differently. If the Henan accent is heard, people become very careful or just stay away. In the hiring process, the applicant from Henan province needs to be considered twice or sometimes just rejected. Well, due to the famous and complex Chinese residency system, the Henan resident just cannot become a Beijing resident easily. They cannot do too much about the fact of being a Henan resident. Even if they have successfully become a Beijing resident, There is normally a column of original residents they have to fill out in every table, let alone their accent. It's true, during a certain time in history with some special social backgrounds, people from certain states were more involved in some activities by accident. Then it turned into they have been doing this for years. Stereotype. When the world gets complicated and people are overwhelmed, stereotypes become very reliable and simple evaluation tools. I have an American friend who is a financial expert. He told me his experiments a few years ago. There were a couple of races very difficult to do business with. Number one is Native American, and number two is Chinese. I was not offended but laughed. I blame him for ranking Chinese at number two, as there is no number two in our dictionary. I'm not surprised if someone was probably right when he summarized. When the world gets more complex, people start to lose objectiveness over facts quickly because understanding something they do not know costs too much time and the reward is just so little. Why believing all Henan residents are not all bad makes changes to my life. I would rather believe they all just saves and not trustworthy. Now I feel a lot better about this miserable life. Alright, you may notice that I have not followed the routine this week by providing a Chinese news first. The first two topics are just simply too hard, which causes me to think a lot. In the future, I may release some special episodes with deeper analysis into the social phenomena. The next topic is about cars. Last week, one suburban district in Beijing released a statement to restrict the use of pickup trucks. In the Beijing metro area, pickup trucks are not allowed to enter from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. Normally, people can drive freely in the suburban areas. The new statement has declared the death of pickup trucks in that district. I checked online. Most large Chinese cities have similar rules over pickup trucks. What's really funny is even you are able to register the pickup truck and drive in some city, the motor vehicle department will have to paint a few things on your truck side door, like the gross weight and how many people the vehicle can contain. Well, Chinese government tried to eliminate pickup trucks. They are most popular type of vehicles in the US market. In 2019, nearly 3 million trucks were sold. People like them because the safety and utilities to be both a family and a work vehicle. Thanks to the regulations, pickup trucks are not very popular in China. But what is popular in China? If you read the list of best-selling vehicles, the top 10 are all sedans or regular-size SUV. There is a very interesting multi-purpose vehicle that is on the number 3, with about 400,000 sold in 2019 compared to about 500,000 sold in 2018. More than 4 million sold in total since 2011. It's called Wuling Hongguang. The price range is about 6,000 to 10,000 US dollar. I do not bother to check, but I believe it should be less expensive than the least expensive car in the US market. With a $6,000, you can get a very decent vehicle, a minivan. 5 doors, 7 seats with seat belts, very roomy space, a 1.2 liter engine, great on gas, manual shift, power windows, a steering wheel, optional AC. What a smoking deal. If you have been to China, you just cannot miss this car. It may be used by pest control, construction, housekeeping, landscaping, and so on. Some of them were even modified to a track car with customized color. This small MPV is to Chinese just like a pickup truck to Americans. You can take your children to school and then pick up a few 2x4s for a simple home project. You can also use it as a work vehicle with all tools and materials at the same space. Over the weekend, the entire family may go out for a fun trip to a very close park. It's multi-purpose, durable, and cost-effective to own and drive. China, without any doubt, is becoming the largest market for luxury vehicles. I have seen more European luxury cars in Beijing than any city I have been to in the US. Those are toys for the rich. This small MPV represents the life of a real Chinese, which you do not see on TV. It may not be the safest car in the world. Probably it does not have the latches for car seats. The infotainment system can be even just a radio with two $5 speakers. The 0 to 60 takes probably, 40 seconds. All of this leave no fun to the driver or passengers in American standards. Well, this is the real car with a roof on the top and four wheels can run. This also carries the hope of better life for 4 million Chinese families. The last topic this week is from the new marriage legislation recently passed. It has added a 1 month cooling down period for all divorce cases. So if you are breaking up with your partner and need a divorce, you have to wait 1 month after the first appointment. The purpose is to help those couples to think twice in order to lower the divorce rate. In the US, the divorce rate is about 40 to 50%. China released an official statement on the divorce of about 3.2 out of 1,000 couples. In the same report, the US divorce rate is about 3.6 out of 1,000 couples. I guess you can have a flavor about the real divorce rate in China. The high divorce rate causes all issues including a low birth rate, especially after years of one-child policy. It's really interesting to see how the policymakers treat their citizens. China seems to have a problem treating citizens as grown-up adults. If you want to divorce, no, you have not thought it through yet. Please take 30 days to cool down. Actually, even now, it's not that easy to get divorced. When you show up at the divorce appointment, someone in the city office may ask you a set of questions to make sure you actually want to divorce. Most likely, you may have to pay a second or third trip to show you have thought it through. The divorce is quite common in the US. Everyone seems to know some friends got divorced. The US used another system to slow the trend down to make it complex. Do you have a commonly owned property, bank account, or other assets? Yes, great. It will take some talks to split them up. Do you have any children? Yeah, congratulations. It may take a few years. Is there any cheating activity? Possible. Oh, great. Let's just investigate it. Nowadays, you can get everything you need through cell phones. The divorce drive-thru only existed in Las Vegas. The divorce and the getting married are actually only meaningful in terms of law. Falling in love or not are natural. I really love to see a couple can spend a life together. However, should we allow people to end the relationship when they want to? How much should we trust people's judgment? In the prior episode, I discussed the underage marriage, and the dilemma was if we should trust the young men and women to make the life-changing decision. Reasons behind the high divorce rate are complex in different social backgrounds. The main problem is not people do not love each other anymore, but the fact they got married first. If people never got married, they never need to divorce. I believe moving forward, there will be a lot of discussions on if it's appropriate for the law to approve and disapprove marriage, or if the marriage is an outdated format for couples. For the records, I feel pretty happy in my marriage. Thanks for listening to Please Tell Me. I will see you next week.